Our next speaker is Shashi Gautam, sales engineer from Trend Micro. Shashi has 14 years of experience in technology, specifically in the data center technologies. So he observed a lot of and experienced a lot of those email-related security. And his presentation today also very interesting, threat detection and hunting through email. So let's welcome Shashi.
So yeah, thanks again, Brian, for this opportunity to talk about email security, threat detection, hunting, and user awareness when it comes to email security. I do feel like every time we do have interactions with our customers and something, I do see like this is sometimes an overlooked facets of email security, and I'm gonna talk about that. So yeah, and Brian already introduced me, but if I just to do that again, so I'm Shashi Gautam, a sales engineer with Trend Micro, based out of Calgary. Been over here for over a year now. I do carry 14 years of experience in technology and data center technology. So in my past roles, I have helped organizations and to recover from ransomware attacks through data disaster recovery, data protection, and things like that. And in my current role, I'm on the other side of the spectrum where I'm trying to prevent and help customers prevent ransomware attacks and protect them. If I talk about my passions, as a father to a 3-year-old daughter and 9-month-old son, I just want to spend as much as time possible with them. Yeah, so nothing out of the ordinary there, but I'm pretty sure like the insights what I'm gonna talk about is a lot more exciting than my passions here. So if we talk about like some of the biggest problems, facing email security, we do know like there are products and solutions in the market from so many different vendors. Some of them are here as we saw in the Forrester wave. And they are really good. They are the best of the breed products and stuff. But however, the sad reality is that email phishing is still the oldest and most effective way of infecting your environment with the malware. And even though I mean, the products are really the best of the breed products, the sad reality is that no product can be 100% effective at blocking email threats. So it's not a matter of if, it's rather a matter of when any organization gets affected. And at that point of time, the what matters most is what kind of visibility the users have and how aware they are to prevent any such kind of attacks. So visibility and user awareness is what will lead to low response time, speedier action, and prevent the spread. And that is some of the facets I'm going to touch upon. So if I talk about some of the numbers, now this might look boring because these are just numbers, but from the numbers, what we have is that we were able to see in 2021, 3.3 million malware events and around 30 million malicious and phishing URLs. However, when we deep dive into the numbers, what we are able to see that is it's an almost 134% increase in the malware detections when it comes to, as compared to 2020. However, the bigger concern to me is like there is a 221% increase in unknown malware detections. Now, not every malware is equal, and I'm talk about like why this significant increase in unknown malware detection is a serious challenge. So as I talked about the unknown malware detection piece, you see there's a huge increase in this unknown malware. And if we analyze some of the biggest ransomware attacks where the organizations have been compromised, far often than not, if not in almost all the cases, it has been unknown malware which have caused the biggest damage. So we really need to have our guards up against unknown malware, which can be done through if you have a really robust cyber threat and research team, which is working around the clock across the globe and working on things like zero-day initiatives to help you prevent. And that is where you will be able to protect yourself, safeguard against the unknown malware piece, because it's not, it's still out in the wild. The organizations are not prepared for that. The machine intelligence and artificial intelligence is not prepared for that. So that is where unknown malware is a serious challenge. Now, I know I might be painting a really gloomy picture, but there is a rather pretty bright light at the end of the tunnel, and this is what I'm going to talk about next. So when I talk about all these numbers, the audience here is, I presumably, mostly Canadian here. So a question might come up, Shashi, all those numbers are good, but how does it is relevant in the Canadian context, where something which Eric touched upon, right? Like the high-profile users, someone like Satya Nadella, right? So CEO fraud, or what is technically called a business email compromise, or BEC fraud, is the most prevalent and the most damaging when it comes to all this phishing link. And Canada is right up there amongst the top 5 as the target. So yeah, this needs to be taken seriously in the Canadian context as well. So what does a job of a security analyst looks like today? Like you have a SOC team, they are managing, they're monitoring your environment, but what are some of the challenges they are facing today, right? So they might be, somebody might be looking at the endpoint side of things, somebody might be looking into the servers, somebody might be looking into the network packet inspection and things like that. So those people, those analysts, they have little visibility into the email traffic flows and mailboxes, right? So what happens is that even though you have a very well installed infrastructure, a well-functioning SIM tool where you're generating all the SIM alerts and from all these different facets, from all these different forces like endpoint servers and networks and mailboxes, it really doesn't carries any context. And this is where more often than not, security analysts, they suffer from crying wolf syndrome, where they see a lot of alerts being generated, a lot of threats being there, but it doesn't translate into anything. And what happens is like these are like low confidence events, and they don't necessarily translate into anything. So this are often overlooked, and security analysts suffer from alert fatigue, right? So just in that rare case, like it's an actual alert which needs to be taken seriously, it does happen that it gets overlooked because of those alert fatigue and lack of high fidelity alerts, right? So what happens is that they don't get the complete story, they don't get the context, and from every investigation of any incident response, it has always been seen that attacks, whenever a phishing link is there, or it doesn't it infects just your mailboxes. It's always spread across silos. It tries to infect your servers, your most critical infrastructure, because that is where the real the money is, if I may say so, and that is they want to do. That is what the threat actors are looking to achieve, and we need to ensure that security analysts are able to see the big picture as well. So what an ideal, email security plus an XDR solution, which is for some of you may be aware already of that, but for those who are not, so XDR is an industry term for the solution called extended detection and response, which translates into that you are able to feed all the data points from your different security solutions, what you have for different be it endpoint, email, network, and servers, and tie them together as a single platform. So into a single data lake, which is XDR. So why do you need XDR? Why email security plus XDR? What it should be able to do. So ideally, an email security solution with XDR should be able to correlate data from different actors of the endpoints, right? And tie it together so that you apply machine learning and artificial intelligence on top of that, and you are able to send really high fidelity, high quality alerts to the security team and less of a false positive. So what happens is that over a period of time, when your security analysts, or you are responsible for the security, you see something, some sort of alert, like it's coming after a lot of processing, a lot of work done in the background itself, and this needs to be taken seriously, and you are right up there, rather than ignoring all like the 1,000 alerts which happens every day. So if I have to summarize what email security plus XDR solution should be able to do, it should be able to provide you a complete story of the attack, the full context, and paint the full complete picture for you, rather than just something that an email dropped into your mailbox which looks suspicious, right? So what XDR is able to achieve? What we have seen is that organizations which do have XDR, they suffer, almost half as successful attacks, as the ones as compared to the ones who don't have an XDR attack. And even more benefit is when it comes to detection and response, because we talked about like prevention is one piece, right? Detection and response is the other piece which really needs to be taken care of, because this is often a far overlooked aspect of a complete enterprise security. Because if your environment gets affected, you need to come out of that fortress mentality where you have secured everything and it should be good, but threat actors do get inside, right? So with XDR, what happens is that organizations are, there are exceptions, but usually 2.2 times, almost 2.2 times faster to detect, and 60% less time when it comes to responding and mitigate the issue and prevent the spread of the attack. So again, to summarize, why do you want to extend email to an XDR? Because again, email is still the oldest and the number one threat vector, which is infecting organizations with malware, right? And when you add XDR to that, not only you are doing detection, you are able to perform sweeping in your environment, or for any kind of malicious URLs or links or attachments. You are able to investigate in terms of like who received this email, who was the sender, what was the link, whom was it forwarded to, is there any lateral entry across your environments, across your servers, and then to respond. To be able to quarantine that email or delete email, or to block the sender who sent that suspicious email, or even the URL, you are able to add it to a suspicious object list. All these things makes your email security that much more robust. So if I'm talking about, I'm not sure like how many of you are familiar with this, but every time a conversation about XDR comes up, it's almost imperative that a MITRE attack is also mentioned. So for those who might not be aware of what MITRE attack is, so think of it as the common language and framework which the security analysts and security personnel use to communicate, understand, and respond to threats as efficiently and as effectively as possible. So this is a common attack framework. So if you think about like what MITRE attack does, it presents all the attack vectors and the kind of attacks you are able to see in your environment, and then it also describes what are the possible next steps. So any security analysts who are familiar with this attack, they are able to understand the mind of the threat actor, if I may say so. Like what we see in the most famous movies and TV series, all the investigators, when they are dealing with the most dreaded criminals, right? The criminals are able to get away with all the crimes they do. It's only when the investigator or the protagonist puts their thinking cap on and starts thinking like the criminal itself, so as to be able to predict the next attack and catch them, stop them right in their tracks. With MITRE attack, you gain those kind of insights, and you are able to predict what the threat actors are able to do. Hence, you're able to prevent such kind of attacks in your organization. So what it means in a real world scenario, like if you are in this kind of an environment where you have an XDR platform with an email security tied in and other security solutions as well, is that the security analyst who's looking into this one, they get an alert like this. Instead of the thousands and millions of alerts they might have gotten earlier, they see something like this, that there's a possible share phishing link. They know that this is coming from an XDR platform which is tied into your email security, and they know that this needs to be taken a look at with the utmost urgency, right? So they click on the link, they are presented on the console of what this incident is, and then they double click on that, like what exactly it is. And this is where XDR really shines, right? So when they double click on that, what XDR solution is able to do is that with the sensors they already have in the email security, your XDR solution will be able to tie the whole kill chain of what exactly the spear phishing link has achieved, right? So you see, you have a sender, you have an internal user, you have the email there, you have the link which was used in the email or the attached in the mentioned in the email, and then you also have the endpoint from which it was accessed, right? So how does it helps? So this is where this kind of paints a picture for you rather than going through non-contextual events. It kind of correlates all those low confidence events into this meaningful picture where you are able to see the full scope of the attack, what the phishing link might have done. So you are able to see the suspected phishing link, the web domain access, and how all that thing has tied together, right? And again, for someone who's familiar with miter attack technique, you always see what attack technique it is tied into. So you can understand that, okay, how they might have got in and what exactly is the objective here. What are the next steps, right? So this is once you see this, and then you are able to have you are having some response capabilities to prevent the spread, right? So depending on the so if you click on the individual items, what I showed you in this previous diagram, so these are all clickables, and any good XDR platform will modify the options, the response options available to you based on the type of object you click on. So let's say you click on the sender who sent you this, you get an option to block the sender right away, right? If you click on the URL which was there, you can add it to suspicious object list and even send it for the sandbox analysis. If you click on the internal user who got compromised, you can perform a further search against that, or even you can if you're sure that the user is compromised, and while you're waiting for your investigation to complete, you can force the user out of your Active Directory of your Azure AD or your internal Active Directory, and you can just block the user from your company organization's VPN or internal networks. And if you click on the email, you see options like you need to quarantine the message, you need to delete the message, or you can check the detailed profiles and carry out further investigation. And by the way, when I'm talking about quarantine and delete messages, it's not just from the user mailbox who received it, it's an organization wide, right? Like, so for the unsuspecting users who might not have clicked on it yet, they are not exposed to this one. So then if I come on like the data points, right? So like I showed you, like you can if you go to the detailed profile, so any security analysts who are really focused on the email side of things, they'll need more data points to perform a search against, really get into the DNA of the email and perform search. And this is where native sensors come in. So what I mean by native sensors is that if you have an email solution which is really tied tight knitted with your XDR solution, the native sensors are able to provide more rich telemetry to the XDR rather than someone which is like a bossed up or a different kind of tied up solution. So with the richer telemetry, you get more email data points to perform into your investigation against, right? So you are just arming your investigators with more tools for them to perform efficiently whatever they need to do. So let's say something like a mail message ID. You perform that, you take that metric, you run a sweep against your environment, and then you are able to see that. And best of all is like within the search results itself, you are able to take action just like of what I showed in the response options previously. So the case of rich telemetry is really important when it comes to the XDR solution, like, because that will determine how what kind of a robust investigation, how much of a robust investigation you are able to perform. Then you should also, your XDR solution should be also, you can look at is like what kind of, threat it actually detects, right? So is it just looking at, the spear phishing link, or, what are the different metrics against which your XDR solution is able to perform? So for example, some of them I have listed here is where an email person at financial institute was done. So something like a PEC, some sender is forged the ID and trying to impersonate the user. There is a URL template via linked, or there is some user who clicked a spear phishing link, right? So to summarize, like, why do we need this? We really need this so that your machine learning algorithms and your artificial intelligence kicks in and is able to combine all the low confidence events into high fidelity events, which looks across the layers, and when the is able to send that across to the security analysts for them to take some action rather than make them suffer from alert fatigue. So that's okay. You have the visibility, but what about the second aspect, which I talked about, is the human error. We do have the best of the breed products and everything, but end of the day, it's humans who are managing the solutions, and um, whether we like it or not, human error in every phishing link, there is a human error element involved. So how do I do that? The only way to do that is make our users more aware through phishing simulations or security awareness training, right? So what phishing simulation is able to do? So it is, think of it, and I think this is something what Eric also touched upon, what Microsoft does with Terranova. There are other solutions as well. For example, phishing insights, what Trend does, and I'm sure every vendor has that. But if you take the abstract of it, the rationale behind this is that if we fish our users, we are able to assess what the risk level they carry. Did they fall to pay to the phishing exercise? If yes, then they need to, they need to go through education. They need to have more awareness training about, so that they don't fall for it again. And then it should be also be able to assign a risk score to every user, right? So with the visibility, you are able to see all the risk vectors, but you're also able to see within an organization, the XDR platform ideally should be able to provide you visibility into what kind of risk score your users are carrying, so that the ones who are with a riskier score, you provide them more training, and you always have a visibility of the risk score, so that who are your vulnerable employee and what action needs to be taken against them. So something like this, right? So if you're able to combine, let's say, your XDR platform with your phishing insights, or your phishing simulation platform, after every training, let's say if they successfully complete the training, the awareness module, and they complete the phishing simulation exercise, their score drops, right? So every once in a while, you can always come, if you have that kind of visibility, you look at the risk score, as you can see something on the right side of things. Your users with a higher risk score need to be more trained more frequently, or maybe you create a custom kind of simulation exercise which is more robust and helps them improve. And somehow when you complete those trainings, that should tie into your XDR console or risk insight console. If you have a single platform for that, ideally you should have single platform, because again, visibility is the key word here. That is the most important thing when it comes to protection, right? So you are able to tie that, and you can see over a period of time how this user has performed, their risk score has gone low. So you are kind of setting up a baseline where you're educating your users more and more, and the baseline keeps higher and higher, because it's not a one-day event, it's an ongoing process and has to be done in and out on a routine basis. So how do you do that, right? Like you do simulate a phishing attack. You identify the risk. You identify let's say the vulnerable endpoints, or the users with high risk score. You train your employees, and you go back and monitor the results. And it's an ongoing cycle, right? It's not a one-time thing. So you keep doing that. How often you should do that, if you may ask me, is, I would say, in an ideal world, it would be like on a monthly basis. But I do realize that that might be an overkill. Even we at Trend Micro, being a cybersecurity, one of the leading cybersecurity firms, we do it on a quarterly basis, but we make it a point to do it at least on a quarterly basis. But this and there are it is reflected against our user profiles, right? So you tie these things together, tie visibility and the cybersecurity awareness training together, and the results are there to see. It's an ongoing process. We have to come out of the fortress mentality. We have to fight it out day in and out. If you think machine learning and artificial intelligence is some of the tools our solution has, so does the so do the threat actors who are outside, who are offering ransomware as a services. And so this is an ongoing process. I hope you found something insightful.